Welcome to my virtual campfire. I'm Crystal Kelly. In Season 2, I am exploring with you as masters of our own experience in an epic and unique time in the history of conscious life. We are all being called to do something unknown. I'm turning to the ancient wisdom when fire was the quantum shift that catapulted humanity. Now, we are the shift. When we connect consciously, we are connected with the new earth. We become the new earth human family. Through vibrations and conversation, let's enter this superhighway of consciousness and co-create within the quantum realm of light.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm just laughing because I wanted to talk to you on the full moon.
Yes, it's perfect.
I know. And I was, and I think you had tried to call in on Friday, thinking it was Friday. And I was like, no, I want to talk to a witch on the full moon. So now today is Monday and today is the full moon. So
Ghost potion spells, black cats in the full moon. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what of all of that what we'll talk about, but I'm just telling you
it'll go anywhere. And since it's coming up on Halloween, and I'm all about the spooky, it's Halloween for me, Halloween every day. So
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be more like, I think it's gonna end up being more of a paranormal ghosty thing. So yeah.
Okay, so I am talking to the Witch of West Seattle. She is someone who has always been interested in the paranormal since seeing her first spirit at age 4. And from that first experience, she dove into a new world of all things esoteric, especially the study and practice of witchcraft. She lives in West Seattle and is an energy cleanser, artist, paranormal, cryptid enthusiast, and somewhat of a reclusive witch. So in an effort not to use your real name, I'm talking to the Witch of West Seattle, and hopefully I won't slip. But welcome.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. I want to hear about, because we are close to Halloween and because today is a full moon, and I want to hear a ghost story.
Ooh, I have plenty of those. So maybe I should just start off with my experience when I was a little child. I was around 4. It was like between 4 and 5 years of age. My aunt, who I was incredibly close to, I just remember her image. It's like she was my mother. She took me everywhere. My first memories were of her, and I was so close to her, and I was always with her. I loved her dearly. She loved me. And not to get into any details, but she passed away, obviously. She was a nurse in the Army, and she was on her way back home, and she was stationed in Arkansas and getting ready to come back home. And well, anyway, after she passed away, and my grandmother was devastated, and I was devastated too. I mean, I lost one of the most favorite persons in my young life. And there was one night I was in my room, just laying there in my bed, and I just felt this urge to go to my bedroom window. My bedroom was on the 2nd floor, and so I get up and I went to this window and I looked down, and there she was. She was standing on the ground between our house and the neighbor's house, in this little patch of grass that separated the 2 homes. And she was looking up at me, and she was so clear there was just a little bit of luminescence to her, and it looked like she was floating a little bit off the ground. But it was clearly, I looked at her and she was recognizable, how I remembered her. She was just standing down there with a smile on her face, and she was beckoning to me to come down. I didn't hear her speak, but just that just got me so excited. And so I ran downstairs, and I wasn't very quiet, and I unlocked the front door, and I was outside through the front yard over to the side of the house. And by the time I got there, she was already wandered into the neighbor's front yard, and she kept beckoning me to follow her. And I kept following her. And then I heard my dad, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Get back over here," blah, 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 blah. And so he distracted me. And then when I turned back to see where she was going, she had gone. She had disappeared.
Wow.
And from then on, I'm like, wow. It just hit me. Like, where did she go?
Mm-hmm.
And then so from then on, I was just so intrigued in the afterlife, even though I didn't know what that word meant at that age. Mm-hmm. But you just kind of start becoming aware of things, the spirit world, and
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me, because I know that I've heard so many stories of children having these experiences, but how I feel like as we become adults, we kind of suppress those mm-hmm. triggers in our brains and the mechanism that makes the paranormal appear to us, I guess, in the lens so that we can see it. And so how, as you have gotten older and throughout your life, how do you still see the other beside the veil, on the other side of the veil? And how do you keep those, how do you keep it going, I guess?
After I saw my aunt, I would always sense things, but not necessarily see anything anymore, really. Mm-hmm. I just, something was there. Mm-hmm. And the house that we lived in was very old, when my sister and I were growing up, and when my sister was born, she was, there are these creepy little doors in our bedroom that we used to put our toys and stuff like that in there. And they would always open up by themselves at night. And I would just look over there and, the typical, get your covers and pull them over your head. But I would never see what was doing that. Mm-hmm. And yes, we had cats, but it wasn't the kitties, they weren't up there doing that. But I never saw anything after that. I would always just sense it, mm-hmm. or feel it, dream about it. And that's another thing that maybe we'll get to later. But as you just mentioned, as you get older, you just, the brain, your adult brain just says, okay, it's part of your imagination. You didn't see it. It was the wind. And you start closing yourself off to it. And I think years later, when I started to see again, was after another tragedy. This was probably back in 1988, where another family member passed away. And then I started to see stuff again. And I don't know, there's being exposed to death or being so intimate with it during times like that, during a tragedy in your family, it probably maybe just opened everything up again. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I started to, okay, how can I see without being, I don't want to be a medium to where they spirits think they can just jump in me and start talking that, I didn't want that either.
Yeah.
I want to have control over my soul, my everything. And so I just started to talk to people and read a little bit more about it. What can you do to open yourself up just a little bit more so you can see?
Mhm.
And basically it's pretty simple. It's just letting go.
Mm.
Letting go of everything that you were taught or told, and getting back to the whole, basically get in touch. I think when you get in touch with nature and ground yourself in the elements, you are open to receiving and perceiving everything on a totally different level, a
Yeah.
new level.
Yeah.
So the deeper I started studying about paganism, or witchcraft, that really helped as well. So that kind of helped bring everything about again.
Mhm. It's really, I mean, nature, there's so much power in nature. And
Definitely.
the one thing that I actually had an epiphany about today as I was walking through the park, and there's, these old growth trees, and they're huge. They feel taller than the skyscrapers downtown,
Yes.
and so I'm like, wow, that they're so powerful. And then I thought about the skyscrapers, and I was like, it took so much force to make it happen. Like it's there, and it has energy, but it was like forceful energy. And this tree has this powerful energy. And I realized that, like, nature has this innate power, and it never has to be forceful. It even if sometimes it exerts its power, it's just setting things back into motion or back into an equilibrium. And so I don't know, it's amazing that you said that, because I literally was just thinking today that nature's so powerful and our egos are so forceful. And if we just kind of unwind that ego of the mind and step more into that power, we can see a lot more.
Yes, definitely. And
clear.
That's the key to it right there, is to ground yourself with nature. Allow yourself to become, and I don't want this to sound phony or hallmarky or flaky or anything, but allow yourself to become one with nature. We're very, very blessed. I know we've said this to you before, to be living in the part of the country that we live in, because we are surrounded by such immense beauty and a lot of powerful energy up here.
And
so
abundance. Yeah.
And so it's easy just to go to just one of our urban parks, and just find a spot, a little secluded area, and sit there and just allow yourself to be and, feel the earth underneath you. And then, lean back against the trees, a lot of these oaks and cedars and everything else. And you can just feel that energy. And, that's for me, witchcraft and paganism, it's nature. It's a spiritual, nature loving spirituality type of religion, if you were to say. I wouldn't even want to call it a religion, just it's a spiritual way of living.
Yeah, it's a feeling of oneness. So one thing that pulls on nature a lot, and on it affects people too, and some people are more sensitive than others, but is a full moon. So so today is a full moon, and like I mentioned, I had that kind of epiphany today, and then I realized it was a full moon, and I was like, doesn't surprise me that I thought this on this day. What is that pull? Like, how do you describe it, and how do you use that to either guide you or give you, you know, I don't know, how do you use the full moon, and like how important is it?
The full moon is very important, and it can pull, it pulls on people. It affects some people a lot more than others. It affects our oceans. It affects our seas and oceans, which is just amazing, and full moons are just a culmination of everything from the new moon to the full moon. So during the phase between new moon leading up to the full moon, whatever you've been working on, whether it's looking for a job or getting something to grow in your garden, it all comes to hopefully good results there. But in the full moon, for me, it's so magical and beautiful. I like to use it as a time for, culmination and, oh, great, I got this task done. Thank you, goddess, and also it's a time, for a lot of Wiccans and pagans to honor the goddess. And a lot of people like to especially take advantage of the time of the full moon to do divination, which is, reading runes or tarot cards or scrying. When some people do dream work, it's, to me, the full moon, the energy of the full moon can be very, very positive depending on how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps to know if you have like a witch's almanac too, so you can look, oh, what astrological sign is the moon in? It's going to be in Pisces. So yeah, I don't know. Some people are saying it's going to be turbulent, it's going to be troublesome. Whenever you read something or you read a horoscope in the newspaper, just take it as like a grain of salt. Take from it what resonates to you, but don't think, oh my God, this is going to come true. No, just like I mentioned before, just go with the flow. If you feel like you need to protect yourself against something or prepare yourself for another situation, then do what feels right to you,
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of something else that witches do, is to make potions or spells. So like what you're saying, like if you're wanting to like create a new job for yourself or manifest abundance or whatever it is that you're focusing on, how and what do you use? Like I don't know, because I know you gave me a banishing spray one time and I absolutely love it. Like there's something about the smell and just sometimes like if someone comes over to my house and they leave, I don't know, maybe I didn't like their energy or something, like they'll leave and this is they'll leave and then I'll spray the spray and
Yeah.
and one day one of my daughter's friends left and then they went out the door and she grabbed the spray and started spraying it. And I was like, oh yes, they're totally like, and they're just like, oh, I feel better now. And so but like how do you, what do you do and what do you use and how does all that work?
Well, first of all, and this is something I like to tell to people who are just now starting out in the craft. Right away, oh, I want to do a spell. Yes, it makes me happy for your enthusiasm, but you need to learn and familiarize yourself with the moon phases, days of the week. If you want to get more into specifics, what astrological sign is the moon in, and I think it's important to familiarize yourself with what you're working with. You're working with nature. So and you have to be aware of the elements that you are working with, you know, and you have to, it requires, you know, just getting familiar with all the aspect of that first. And then, you know, then you can start, you know, doing a little this or a little that. And it's also good, like I said, working with the different moon phases as well, depending on what type of spell you're doing. For example, now that we're full moon, right now, a lot of people tend to do dream work, one last complete, you know, spell for manifestation, wishing good luck, you know, but psychic stuff. And then now after the full moon, we'll start, you know, waning phase. That's the time to start where I like to do stuff for protection, you know, and getting rid of, you know, okay, this is a bad habit. Let's find something to help me or help this person get rid of this. They need help. They ask me for my help. So what can we do? And that's, you know, that's the time for getting rid of, you know, banishing, you know, cleansing. When I say negative magic, it basically means doing stuff to get rid of unwanted and unnecessary elements in your life and protecting yourself. And like I said, I told you a while back, I'm very, very private and secretive, so I'm not going to be spilling any of my secrets of what goes to my stuff.
Oh yeah, no, and I wouldn't expect you to, because I'm just talking in generalities, like you know, because I think not many people personally know a witch, you know, and I for whatever reason have a few witches in my life.
Yeah.
and I know it's and I know that everyone has their own craft, you know, like it is witchcraft and it is like a practice, and it's something that isn't always the same, and like you said, depending on the day or the week or the year we're in or whatever, you're always adjusting. And so so that practice, and for someone like you that spanned almost your whole life, is really fascinating to me. And so I just like to talk in generalities about how and what the intention is. And I like when you said like the negative things, it's just things that are negative on you. You're not projecting that to somebody else, or that something negative would happen to another. It's more deflecting.
When I say I'm secretive and private, a lot of witches are. Yeah. And you may think that we're in an age where people could be more open about stuff, but in my opinion, I think we're going backwards. And I won't get into the politics of everything. And you know me being a sensitive and an empath, I'm going by what I pick up in people in my everyday life when I'm out in public. And I've always been secretive about what I do anyway. Even when I moved up here, I've been, even though I was able to express myself a lot more, but a lot of things I'm still very private about. And there's a lot of people who practice the craft that are very private about their practices and how they make things, you know, not just to be stingy or anything like that. It's out of respect too, because I just think it's something I just always have this feeling of having to respect the ancient ones. And if you try to tell or talk to someone who's not on the same path and they don't understand, you just feel depleted, and they just look at you like you're some sort of abnormality or something. And that's why I tend to keep everything on the down low. But let's go back to the negative about negative magic. Basically, throughout the whole world, the law of three, or karma, what you put out, you're going to get back in. If someone makes you angry and you happen to, wow, they left something of theirs behind in your place, like a scarf. Ah, ha, 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 I have her scarf. Oh, she's going to pay now. You know what? If you want to go ahead and do some sort of spell to make her, I don't know, fall down some stairs or something, do it. But you know what? You will definitely pay for it. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to do anything like that. And another thing I want to stress about people who practice the craft, yes, everyone has a different way of doing things. Everyone worships different deities. People, everyone's way of doing things is wonderful. And so within my own circle, the majority of my friends are practitioners as well, but they have different ways of celebrating the Sabbaths, and they have different traditions, which is wonderful when you bring everything together.
Yeah.
But we do not do the darker stuff. There has been, I will admit, there has been several times in my life where I have done it, because just out of such anger, and I was just wanting to protect myself and protect others that were affected by the actions of these other people. But, I ended up suffering just as much as, the intended did as well. So basically now you can do just basic protection spells or sending back, whatever you've sent back to me, it's going to go back to you, just sending back. And that's, to me, that's not necessarily, evil or anything. It's just karma, pretty much. Mm-hmm. They did some, it's just the law of karma, and you're not really working against nature. I don't think when you work with nature within the proper moon phase to do something as like protecting or whatever.
Yeah, I know that I've used a mirror technique before, like having a neighbor or something that you don't get along with, and I will put on the outside of the house a mirror facing their direction.
Yeah, that's fine. Mirrors are good, if you have that feeling that someone in your neighborhood, or a neighbor that's just like, you can just feel that. Yeah. Blue glass is also good, and the little all-seeing eye. It's an eye painted on blue, and blue is a good color to put in your windowsills facing outward. If you live on the busy street, it's always good to have that. So if someone just happens to walk by and just for some whatever reason wishes you harm or something, because unfortunately, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. There's a lot of horrible people in this world, but there's also a lot of good as well. But still, you have to protect yourself from those that are just out there just to cause harm and want to see people suffer and such. And not just on the physical level, but spiritually as well. So yeah, blue glass, mirrors facing outward. But my favorite is using the all-seeing eye. On the blue glass is my favorite to have hanging up in my windows and stuff.
Yeah. I have a large eye tattooed on my back, and I'm realizing that maybe I'm more of a witch than I realized.
You can probably just consider yourself a pagan. If for the longest time I was so uncomfortable calling myself a witch, because to me, you call somebody a witch, someone who has been around for a long time, who is so knowledgeable, so revered in the craft that you can look up to, and someone who can guide you or will have the, exact perfect answer for you for whatever you need assistance or help with. And I didn't start calling myself a witch until other people did.
Oh.
I said, wow, they're looking up to me, and people will come to me for assistance and help and guidance. I said, wow. And then sometimes I even doubt myself sometimes. It's just all a part of learning, because you're never too old to learn. Seasons change, life goes on, and we're here to continue to grow and learn regardless of how old you are. There's some people who think they know everything already. Oh, I've read all these books, I've studied with so and so, and I was in this coven and that coven, and I know everything. No, you don't. You may know a lot, but there's always room to learn more and to receive more guidance and blessings and answers from the ancient ones. It's always a process. It's always a magical learning process. At least for me, it is anyway.
Yeah, I feel very much the same way. I feel like I've been here many, many lifetimes. Even as a young child, I would have thoughts in my head that like I'd either been there before or I already knew what was going to happen. And so I know what you mean by you feel like you're here you have something to offer, but you're also, it's a symbiotic relationship because your soul is growing at the same time as you're offering assistance. It's I don't know if that even makes sense, but
it's the full moon. I'm so spacey today.
Yeah, it's always a wild day, which is why, like, you don't always want to see everyone on a full moon, because if it's someone that tips you in the wrong way, you're just like, oh, watch out,
Yeah. Last time we were in a specific coffee shop, and one of our conversations, we were talking about extraterrestrial experiences, and we're talking about some other related subjects, and we were excited and loud and everything. And I don't know whether you realized it or not, but one, several people left the cafe. and two, the ones that remained were kind of like, wanted to listen, and there's this one guy who's like kind of scooting his chair closer.
Oh my God.
The booth we were sitting in. It was so hilarious.
That's so funny. I did not realize that. Sometimes, especially when I get into a topic that I'm really, really into, such as aliens or abductions, anything along extraterrestrial, you've got my laser attention focus. So I wasn't paying attention to what was going on at all. So that's hilarious though. They were like totally listening, like eavesdropping about what we were talking about.
Yes, I'm always, being sensitive and an empath, I'm always aware of my surroundings and the individuals and what they're doing and how they're perceiving us, or me, or so I was like, this is so funny. But
well, yeah. It's a perfect example of what you were talking about earlier, about how some people are ready and some people are not ready for certain information. So like the people that left that were offended by our conversation, it's because to them, we're talking about crazy things. Like it literally to them is like insane to think that there are extraterrestrials. But like other people have had experiences and have had, you know, a lot of different confirmation or affirmation that some maybe other things beyond our perceivable reality is true, you know. So for some people, they're more aware, and then when you're aware, you're also seeking more information, because the information is very difficult to find, and a lot of people won't talk about some things because it is considered a little crazy, or, you know. And I'm to the point where I kind of don't care anymore if people think it's crazy, because if I think it's real, then it's real to me. And so if someone else thinks it's real to them, then I'm fascinated, because I want to know what they know, and I want to teach them the things I know. And then maybe there'll be a knowing, more knowing, and it elevates our consciousness, and it connects us on a deeper level with more and more people and more beings. And so, you know, those people that are edging in to hear more, I want them to hear more, you know. I want to share these experiences and to find out more truths and more, you know, more wild stories.
Exactly. That also reminds me of a time when, I think this was last summer, not this past summer that we're now leaving finally, but probably during the height of COVID. And we had a birthday present to give to one of our wonderful, wonderful, crazy friends, crazy in a good way. And so we met him outside the apartment, me and my sister and this friend, and we were on the sidewalk, you know, talking, you know, spaced apart. We had our mask on, and we gave him his gift. And we just started talking about cryptids. I think something happened in the news that sounded strange, about some sort of disappearance in the mountains, you know. And so right away he starts talking about werewolves and dogmen and Bigfoot, you know, the bad Bigfoot, you know, bad Sasquatch tribe. And he's very animated too. You guys meet one of these days. And so he was going on and on and on, and we would, you know, say stuff whenever we were able to. You should have seen the people walk way around us here, and he's all animated. And then he starts, and then he sees people reacting to him, so he just feeds it by doing wonderful Bigfoot calls and growling and snarling like a werewolf. I said, oh my, people are going to think you are on drugs and call the cops, and you're going to be taken away. But it's hilarious. But the thing is, if you have an experience, you want to tell people about it. You know, like a lot of people don't believe in ghosts. You know, a lot of people don't believe in anything like that. But maybe if they were to experience it and see hard proof and evidence, you know, I'm still very, very, have a scientific mind, a very analytical mind. So my apartment that I live in is haunted. Everywhere, I think, for the most part, has something attached to it. There's some sort of history there, because you can't just look at a building, an apartment complex. Oh, that's a nice new apartment complex they just built. What about the land underneath it? The land. You have to go back and see what was on this land before, you know. But the ghosts that I have here in the apartment, they're very, very low key until I start, you know, ignoring them. If I come in and say hello, I acknowledge them. And when I kind of forget to do that, say a week has gone by, then they let me know, hey, we're here, by either opening up cupboards or letting me see them by peeking around the corner of the door, you know, and I'll see like a brief, black shadow or something. And let me say right off the bat, just because a shadow is black does not mean it's evil or demonic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, you will know if something is evil or demonic in your home if you feel it. If you've had that sense of dread and that ice cold chill that just covers your body, and then the smells. Anything smells like excrement, rotting meat, sulfur, rotting eggs, call whatever spiritual teacher, advisor close to you to help get rid of it.
Yeah.
So everyone, people, you see a dark shadow. Woo, now, sometimes that's just they're I don't know. It's just hard to explain why some of them are like that, but the one is black here, the black shadow that goes around. Nothing bad, this place is safe. I feel so safe here in my apartment, it's my sanctuary. But always talk to your spirits that are inhabiting your home, because they like that, the ones that are still dwelling.
Yeah. I hadn't really ever experienced, I don't think, a demonic spirit, but I had encountered a angry spirit. And that was, I called you because I didn't know what to do with it. I had listed that house on Queen Anne. And it was a big old house. And the first few times I'd been there, it felt fine. I didn't have any negative feelings or anything. And then after a couple, maybe the fifth or sixth time I'd been in the home, I had realized earlier that day that it had been on the market for like 3 weeks, and not one real estate agent had opened the key box except for me or my business partner. And I thought, that's strange. We had open houses and we had brokers opens where people had come through, but not one other person had opened the key box. And that day, when I walked up to the house, as I walked up, I saw a cloak over the house. And I was like, what? Like, and it went away as fast as it entered my mind. It just like was there and then was gone. And I was like, that's so strange. And then that when I walked up the stairs, I felt like a hand was pushing on my chest to go back down the stairs.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. And I went downstairs. I was shaken up. I felt, and that's when I knew I needed to call you, because it was a force that was beyond the physical realm, but I felt it physically, and I saw it for a split second, and we later found out that he had died in the home not long before, and was a little bit of an angry person. And I don't think he meant.
Now I know who you're talking about. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
I sure do. That was one of my, that was very, very memorable, because he was angry. That spirit, he just didn't want to leave. And I'm going to tell you something. I think the main negative feeling that you were feeling was coming more from the living associated / related to the deceased than the deceased themselves.
Interesting.
So, but he was angry. He definitely was angry. And because when I first went inside, It was like stuffy, of course, very stuffy. But I didn't feel threatened at all. I was just like, oh my gosh, just someone who's stubborn and throwing a little tantrum. And so what I wanted to do, what made me angry is when, didn't he break the lights up in
Yes,
the bathroom of the
that
mirror?
that's
That,
kind of
yeah.
one of the craziest moments of my life. Every time in that bathroom at the top of the stairs, where I had felt that hand on me, the lights, like the light bulbs, were burnt out, and I had replaced them a couple of times, and I was getting frustrated. Like, this was before I had felt the presence, and but every time I went in there, I was like, how can those keep going out? And I checked the breaker panel, and we had some electricians there. And so I asked them to look at it just to see if something's malfunctioning. And they're like, no, everything's working fine. It's fine. And so then again, that day, when I was there with you, the lights were burned out again. And so I had bulbs because I kind of expected they would be. And when I went to go screw in the light bulb, it burst in my face, and I felt his anger like literally hit me with the glass on my face. And I ran out of that house screaming and shaking and crying. Like, it was scary. That was a frightening moment.
I got mad, and this is what I like to tell people who are deeply afraid when stuff like that happens. And yes, it does shake you up, but you have to take ownership. That's when I got mad and went charging up those stairs. Okay, you are not going to do this to Crystal. You're not going to do this. And so that's when I spent time in there talking to him, trying to persuade him to let go and to pass over and to be with his wife, because she had already passed away previously. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's what happened.
And be with her, be at peace, please. You're done here. Your time here is done. If you love this house, and this is what I was telling him, you can still be a steward of the house. Just don't harm anyone that moves in. If they are truly horrible people and do horrible things in this house, then you have every right to scare them away. But don't. Just look after the house, protect it, but don't possess it. And then we saged and everything else. And I was hoping after that would do it.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that after that, I felt much better. And I know that you had done a few protection things on me after that, which I think helped a lot. Even if it just helps in my mind, it helped me feel safe, and it took a little bit longer for the home to sell, but it did. And it was perfect. It was the perfect family. And so I think that, I think that these things are very real. And even though other people didn't see a ghost or anything, I think when they were walking up there, they could feel it probably. And it does affect our life in this realm that we live in. In this, so having someone, with the skills that you have, it made me feel better.
I'm glad.
I'm happy that I don't have to have you on speed dial or anything, because if I came into contact with things like that all the time, I feel like my nerves would get frayed.
It's tough, being an empath and a sensitive. It really is. And there's things that you have to do to keep yourself, protected, and one thing I like to tell people who, they come to me and ask me, well, what can I wear to protect myself from negative energies and influences? And I like to tell them, first of all, if you go to a crystal shop, whatever stone or crystal pulls you and you just instinctively reach for something, that's one for you, because people are drawn to different stones for different reasons, and if you're meant to have a tiger's eye, great, or just a plain quartz crystal. My favorite to wear, and this is for, me personally, is rose quartz,
That's my favorite too.
And as far as protection, I always like to wear black onyx, whether it can be a pendant or a bracelet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that my sister and I always like to do, she commutes to downtown. Frankincense and myrrh oil, dab it on your wrist, dab it, put it on your backside, the outside of your clothes, just that is, to me, is it offers a lot of protection. And that's 2 ingredients that I do put in that wonderful spray I make. So, but
yeah,
that's what works for me. Some people might feel sandalwood and dragon's blood, or everyone's different. It's just whatever you feel. Oh, no, this I like this better. That's the beauty of it.
That for me, what I wear for protection changes a lot. Like today I have sandalwood and rose quartz. I almost always wear a rose quartz, and I almost always have a moonstone on. But then other than that, things really kind of change. And I have a close cousin who was born the same year that I was born, and her and I grew up kind of probably more as sisters than cousins. We spent a lot of time together. And I noticed on she makes malas, and she likes to make like garden art and stuff. And so on her Instagram, sometimes she'll like post something that she made with the stone she made it in, and it's literally the same stone that like I just had acquired out when I was in Enumclaw, or you know what I mean, just like some random thing. And we message each other, and I'm like, how is it that we're vibing this exact same stone on the same week, and so I think sometimes that's just how you are with some people. You're just in that similar vibe, in that zone.
Exactly. That happens quite frequently with me and some other people as well. It's happened with you and I on occasion too. So.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. That's the stuff that to me in life is kind of magic, because I can't describe it really with any sort of like scientific terms, even though when I read like quantum physics or quantum theory, I think a lot of those theories are like proving a lot of this magic.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it makes you feel in the synchronistic way about it that that's my favorite. Like that brings me joy in life when those things happen. What else should we talk about? Black cats.
Black kitties. To me, black cats, animals in general are wonderful, and black cats have, especially during Halloween, which is Samhain, which means summer's end, and probably one of the most important Sabbats of the witches' calendar year. Black cats, and let's just talk about witches. The typical witches you see portrayed in most movies and some television series are always, stereotyped as being evil, and up to no good, and black cats are bad. You see a black cat and, oh no, totally opposite. Animals are wonderful. Black cats, to me personally, are magical. They're wonderful, and it really breaks my heart that there are so many evil people who will go out and harm black cats, hurtful that so many black kitties, either don't get adopted or they're mistreated, and that has to stop. There's, my my last familiar, he was so wonderful. He showed up about 22 years ago, 3 weeks to the day before Halloween. Just showed up. He wasn't a full grown yet. He was maybe a teenage age kitty. He just showed up. Black. He was what we call a fairy cat because he had a little white star shaped patch, or just a patch of white right on his chest.
Mm-hmm.
And he just showed up, and then he walked right in like he lived there. And he just started telling me his little story, and he was with me till the day he passed away, of old age.
Mm-hmm.
And my wonderful little Halloween kitty, just perfect little guy. And they are so magical. Cats are magical. Animals are magical, and they're beautiful. And they can be messengers and friends. But, once you open yourself to nature, you see the beauty of it, then you just have a whole new respect for them. Use the term witch right away. They use it for someone, a woman or a man who is evil. And no, don't do that. And now that we're getting into Halloween, the decorations. I love Halloween decorations. And I used to be very, very offended with the typical old crone riding the broomstick, but you know what? I tend to look at it in a different light now, so it doesn't bother me. Yes, I'm going to be 80 years old, and I'm going to have my hair long and crazy. I already have a black mole on my face that's the size of a pinprint, thanks to my grandmother, and it's probably going to get big size of a nickel by the time I am 80, if I live to be that long. And so yes, I'm going to look like that. Woohoo! So yeah, so I just look at it now instead of getting angry, but sometimes it still bothers me, but it's just how you interpret it, I guess, but I don't like the negative connotations that's always associated with witch and black cats. And I think the more we try to educate people and just, hey, you know what? No, that's not how it is. Black cats, one crosses your path, you're not going to get hit by a bus. They're beautiful, wonderful.
I heard that if a black cat crosses your path, it means you're going the wrong way. So so that in a way that is like, it's trying to tell you like, hey, like look this other way, or, maybe you need to be a little more aware. So I do think it's somewhat of an like omen, but I think it's more sentient than that. I think it's more just like, all right, raise your awareness, that cat knows something's up.
Personally, this is like a witch's Thanksgiving, and you bring in pretty much what did you grow over the summer? What herbs were you able to cultivate? can offer them up to the deities that you pay respect to or worship. And I think it's a time of giving thanks, more or less, and being happy and thankful for everything that's in your life, the simplest of things that you have. And it's a good time for a meditation and introspection as well. And also on the equinox, some people that I've known usually like to rededicate themselves to the craft. It's kind of like a self-dedication, like that they personal little rituals you can do for yourself, just to, yes, just to rededicate yourself to whatever spiritual path and deities that you do worship. And it's, for me, it's always been about the bounty of the year and reflecting on the past year and giving thanks and whatever you're able to harvest. And unfortunately, I am not a green witch. I cannot grow things, but I am very, very successful of having healthy sage and lavender and rosemary. So at least I can offer a bit of that up to the gods and goddesses of old. So that will definitely happen this Wednesday. And now on to Samhain, which is the most important of all the 8 of the witches' Sabbats. It's, of course, everyone knows it as Halloween. And this is the day, that marks the end of summer. And it's the time when the veil is thinnest and we honor our dead. We honor the ancestors. Communication is easier. And this is the time pretty much for those who can't see or won't see to see, It's a good possibility for that to happen, to receive messages from those who passed the previous year, or if you're seeking questions or any type of guidance from your ancestors. This is a time to do types of divination that'll help you, find those answers. So pretty much that's what Samhain is. People are like, well, where did these traditions come from? Like the jack-o'-lanterns, and jack-o'-lanterns, basically carved pumpkins, were put out to ward off the evil spirits. However, traditionally that tradition began over there in England, but or Ireland, and used turnips, I believe, to carve faces, carve out and hang up and kind of keep the spirits away. And so that from turnips to pumpkins. Pumpkins are widely used now. I love pumpkins. It's
I do
hard
too.
for turnip, but I have tried.
I love the like ritual part about carving pumpkins too, because like when you stick your hand in the inside of the pumpkin, it's just so like visceral and like so icky and slimy. But it's something about it that is like, all right, let's clean this out and make it a little piece of art. And yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do, whether I do it with the kids or even if the kids aren't home on Halloween, I still carve pumpkins.
That's a good thing to do. Light it and keep it lit all night if possible.
Yeah.
In my teenage years, I did silly stuff. We all do silly things in our teenage years. And we did some stuff we should not have done, but they were good learning experiences. Like, this is one thing I did want to touch base on. Spirit words. They can be misused. And a lot of people, let's play with this Ouija board. Yeah. And it may be all fun and games when you get the response. It's scary. It's funny. Oh, the lights flickered and went out. Oh, there's that big bang that came from behind you. Funny, funny. But you don't know what you're doing. You don't properly dismiss. You don't respect the spirit. And you don't dismiss it. And so it's lingering. And guess what? You got a problem. Even with somebody who is skilled, someone has practiced and studied this art of divination and using spirit boards, it's still risky, and that's just my opinion. Some people just, like I said, everyone's different, has different experiences, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're young, you do silly things, and we didn't dismiss the spirit or thank it properly. And so it lingered to the point to where it started banging pots and pans in the kitchen. And one night, this is happening in my aunt's house, actually, when we did this. And so all this activity was happening there. And then another time, we were all in the bed, and it hit the bed, boom, with all of us girls on it.
Whoa.
And I said, that is one strong thing, because there was at least 2 or 3 of us on that bed.
Yeah.
And then the lights went out, all the lights in the entire house. And finally, my aunt was so angry, because she kind of knew what we were doing back there. She comes, "What are you girls doing in there?" And then, so you have to be very, very careful, and don't take it lightly when you work with a spirit board. Do proper cleansing of the board, proper cleansing and protection for yourself and the other person or persons who are going to be working with you. It's always good to have, if you're going to do it, if you're like a first timer and you're serious about wanting to use it with someone who has done it before and has had more positive outcomes with it. So you have more of a guidance with it, like maybe you want to use someone who is a respected medium in your area or whatever, so you can have some, so have a better sense, or who you're actually communicating with. Am I really talking to Aunt so and so, as opposed to some other little mischievous spirit in the spirit world who just wants to come in and wreak havoc in your life? But yeah, so you have to be very, very careful. Don't just, I'm gonna do this by myself, and don't do it by yourself ever. No. Any form of divination, do it with respect. Even if it's something that's as simple as scrying into a black bowl filled with water. Just be careful, sage yourself, and don't do it intoxicated. You have to have a clear and stable, healthy mind, when you do such work, because it's not a game. You're seeking answers, you're seeking help, and you're communicating with forces you can't even begin to comprehend. So you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, I like that you say don't do it by yourself, because I feel like even as a mom to my kids, I always say, like, don't walk by yourself. But even in, you're going to enter the spirit world don't go by yourself. Like,
Yeah,
take someone who knows what they're doing, because
exactly.
the human world is crazy enough, and then you enter a spirit world and you're just
Oh,
like, holy moly. So yeah, like, always bring your buddy.
yes.
At the very least, like, bring a crystal that will protect you. Or I know I have a hagstone, and I didn't know what it was for a lot of years. It's just a stone that has a natural circle in the middle of it, like almost like it's like something went through it, but it's just naturally carved. Do you know what a hagstone is?
I've seen them before. Yeah.
Yeah. And so years ago, like 11, 12 years ago, a friend gave me this hagstone. I didn't know it was called that at the time. And he said, I ran into him one day and he said, the other day I was trudging through a creek, because he's a driftwood artist. And so he goes through creek beds and finds like wood burls and all this stuff. And he's like, I was going through this creek and I found this rock. And he goes, I don't know why, but right when I saw it, you popped into my head. And I was like, what? That's weird. And he's like, yeah, I can't explain it, but it's supposed to be yours. And so he gives it to me. And I kept it I still have it. I still have it on my TV like cabinet in my living room right now. And when I travel, I always carry it on my backpack. I put like a strap through the hole and I carry it on my backpack. And then just this last year, I found out that a hagstone is a protective stone. And usually only witches have them.
Well,
I know. And so my cousin that I mentioned, Alyssa, that's kind of like my sister, she is the one who told me what they were. And she's like, it's no surprise you have one, Crystal.
that's good. It's always good to take a form of protection, especially if you're going on trips, especially when you're going hiking, going to the woods, I have several things that I like to take with me or bring with me whenever I go for a short hike or a short, whatever, you go through the woods. And as much and as tempting as it is to take stuff from the forest, I try very hard not to. But if I'm so tempted to take a pine cone, I will make sure to leave something in its place, like an offering, whether it's an apple or a gemstone that I can part with. And because I just don't like taking from the forest, especially our forest. So this is going to be a prelude to some spooky experiences up on the Iron Goat Trail. And I have this list of haunted trails that I want to do. And so far, I've only done the Iron Goat Trail. I do want to do the Hull Trail in the Olympics, the National Rainforest. That's my next one that I would love to do. But on the Iron Goat Trail, there's 3 of us. There's 4 of us, if you want to count the border collie. And,
that's 4. Yeah.
Yeah, 4. So
3 humans and 1 dog.
Yeah. And it was, we got there at a perfect time. It wasn't crowded. And everything that I read about, I experienced a lot of it. We would be walking. Let me just say, I would be walking, and then I would hear talking behind me, like whispering. Turn around and no one would be there. My sister, my brother-in-law would be up ahead. Same with the dog, up ahead, because I was always the last one. There's those abandoned tunnels. You look in there, and you just kind of get a feeling that something was there. And I took pictures, but I didn't capture anything on camera. And there was this one time we were walking, and I could have sworn I heard the sound a train makes as it's slamming on its brakes. You
That
know,
screeching.
and you can hear the steam, like it's, and it was in the band, the whole history of that area, about that. It was a disaster that happened there. It was an avalanche.
Oh.
Something about the train that, there was a railroad that ran through there.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm gonna have to look that up again, but I heard that. I was hearing those sounds, those imprinted sounds from the past. And it's really strange. And then what really got me was some areas would just be so horribly quiet. And you're in the forest, no birds, just like dead quiet. I'm like, okay, I think it's time to go.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
An easy feeling. And it's also good, because your animals are very sensitive to the paranormal and the spirit world. I believe in Sasquatch. I believe in a lot of these cryptids, and especially when there's so many sightings, and people record, these sightings and post it up on YouTube or their Instagram accounts. A lot of it is staged, but the ones that are real, you're like, oh my gosh, that just happened up in the Cascades or over here. And it's just amazing because I've had my own experiences before.
Yeah. I think when I was on Mount Shasta, and I was hiking with a shaman, with Paula Venus, and we were going through this area, and he was like, this is where the Sasquatch live. And he said, you'll see their hair on branches. And then as we're walking, like, I saw it, like, I actually saw like hair, and it doesn't look like bear hair. It looks different. It's like very different. And he said, oh, they love these berries over here. But he says that they're 7th dimensional creatures that they can lower their vibration sometimes so we can see them, but they're there. They're just in a different vibrational frequency than we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that too. They are physical beings, and they do have that ability to. That's why no one can really find where are they staying.
Yeah,
because they can slip through portals, for lack of a better word,
Yeah,
end up somewhere else. And it's just amazing. There's just so much in this world that we don't understand. And you really have to respect it. And I like to view Sasquatch, aka Bigfoot, as guardians of the forest, that they take care of the forest and they take care of all the other animals in the forest. And it's just amazing,
Yeah. No, when we were hiking through that area that Paul said was Sasquatch territory, I felt like this overwhelming sense of peace, actually. And the whole time we were like laughing and kind of telling jokes and stuff, and it was happy, and the sun was out when we were in that area. So who knows, but the feeling I got was pretty peaceful.
Yeah, it's good energy. Depending on their mood. There's been reports that not all of them are friendly. Some can be a little bit more aggressive, if they're in packs, if it's a mother with her young, with some juveniles, they'll be extra protective and start throwing rocks at you and stuff. But you want to hear a really spooky story?
Yes.
Okay. I think this is probably one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had.
Okay.
And it probably happened in the late 80s, I think.
Okay.
A high school friend of my sister's called her and was near hysterics and was asking us if we could come over and spend the night with her because there was things happening in the apartment above her, and she didn't know whether it was her. Is she losing her mind? Am I going crazy? Am I really hearing all of this? And I just need some help. I need some verification of what is going on up there. And so we said, sure, we went, and immediately, right when we got on the block to where she lived, and as I was getting ready to pull up into the driveway, even before I pulled up into the driveway, you can just feel this awful, horrible, negative, dark, I will say evil energy. And I after we pulled up and I stopped my car and turned it off, and I was like, my sister and I just looked at each other, and I was like, I do not want to go up there.
Yeah.
But we did. I said, okay, they're looking up to me, I have to be the strong one here. So, okay, let's do this. So we go to her unit. It was a house. Cute little house. There's first floor was where she lived, and then there's a second floor where was the place in question.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go in, and her area, her place seemed nice. It was nice and cozy. And she starts telling us what has happened. There used to be some guys that lived above her, and then all of a sudden they just left. Oh, she said they just left. They ran. They fled. Their stuff is still up there.
What?
Yeah. Their stuff was still up there, and she was telling us that her cabinets keep opening and closing all the time. There's this horrible energy in her bathroom. She thinks there's something really nasty in the apartment above. And whatever it is trying to come down into her unit from the bathroom.
Whoa.
So I go in the bathroom, and she wasn't crazy. She wasn't losing her mind. You go into that bathroom, and the temperature in that bathroom is at least 15 degrees cooler than the rest of her, living area.
Yeah.
It was ice cold. And there was this one area in that bathroom in particular where you could just feel it, like this must be like an entryway or a portal or something. This is how it's coming down. And I was just like, I'm getting all heebie-jeeberish just talking about it right now. But it was nasty, and I did not like it. So I leave. But the rest of her area, that place felt nice, It felt welcoming. It felt safe, except for that bathroom. But so we sit and we eat and we talk. We're just talking about all her experiences that were going on up there. She'll be sitting alone, and she'll hear stuff being moved across the floor. She goes, it sounds like someone's pushing furniture around up there, and there's no one living up there. She goes, I swear there's no one squatting up there. It's empty. There's no people up there. And so we're talking, and then right away the cabinets in her kitchen just started opening and closing, and I'm just sitting there looking and staring am I really seeing this? Her foundation seems good. They're just not opening up by themselves. And
Yeah.
wow. And they were like opening and closing, like someone, an invisible person was standing there opening and closing them. And so, okay, let's do this. Let's go. So she goes up there first, and I think I'm second. And right till you get to the top, the top landing, I don't know. I made light of it. Someone, and I don't know if it was a sick joke or someone who truly, was fascinated with a Charles Manson wrote Helter Skelter in what appeared to look like blood.
Whoa.
But I was joking around. Oh, look what someone did with some ketchup packets from McDonald's. Because this friend and my sister were looking absolutely terrified. I'm just trying to be the strong one here. Let's make some jokes. And so she goes, look, it's unlocked. They didn't even lock the door. And she opens the door and I go in, and she just stands back and lets me go in. It was just, the energy was just like it hit you in the face, like, get out, like almost feeling pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I don't recall any foul smells, but the energy and the coldness of the room was overwhelming enough to make anyone want to run out of there. Mm-hmm. It was just hateful and angry, or it's just some of the words that popped into my head right away when I walked in there. And I forced myself to go through there. And she was right. The previous tenants left their couch. There was suitcases on the floor that were unpacked. And looks like they're getting packed. But they just left, took a few things and left. Wow. To the kitchen, went over to the sink. The sink area, I hated. I wanted to vomit because then I started to get sick to my stomach. And I just felt like something bad happened over the sink. And now I'm wondering if someone committed suicide there or tried to, or I don't know, something along those lines. Or someone was messing with the darker arts, and conjured up something that they regretted. I don't know, but it was just nasty. And we weren't up there very long. And I just kind of joked around, no, sir, don't like it, from Ren and Stimpy, Mr. Horse, try to do best imitation of that. And so we kind of laughed it off and left, my sister's friend closed the door, and we left. And she actually locked it because I think she had mentioned that the landlord was up there earlier or whatever, but she actually locked it. So we went downstairs, glad to be out of there, back safely in the other, her friend's apartment. And later that night, that couch, that big old couch is going back and forth,
What?
Constantly above our heads. And we just sat there and prayed and, said mantras and did, try to raise up, good energy. And it was crazy. And with something like that, the only thing that we could do is make sure that she was protected and had things surrounding her that would keep her safe from what was above. Mm-hmm. But that was, to me, is one of the more horrific things I've ever been through. This is another, hard-earned lesson. Slumber party, me and my cousins. And we were a bunch of teenagers, and we were all downstairs at my aunt's house, it was fun. And of course, we started telling spooky stories, stories to hear from the grandparents or the aunts or the uncles, and all the little creatures they would tell you to stay away from, stay away from those railroad tracks, stay away from that old willow over there, stay away from that old oak. It always has to do with trees or something. Trees, railroad tracks. I don't know what it was. Oh, and streams. I don't like stream. There's a lady who drowned her kids in that stream. Stay away from it. She haunts that stream. She's looking for more kids to drown. I mean, we've heard some good ones growing up. It was hilarious. And so we were downstairs in the basement, and we decided to do Bloody Mary. Okay, my aunt, she also was a hairdresser and had her own salon there, and it was in that same area. So we went into her salon and did the scratching on the mirror, in her salon. So we did it. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. You're supposed to do it 3 times, and 3 times you scratch on the mirror. And she's supposed to come out and attack you, supposedly. After doing that, we just kind of spooked ourselves, and just because we were in the salon part of her house, someplace we knew we shouldn't be. So we laughed, quickly got out of there. So I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. There is a part, we're in the basement, but there's sliding doors, and steps that led up to the ground level. Mm-hmm. And we had the curtains open, so you could see the steps going up to the ground level. You could see part of the ground level, the grass. And then, so the curtains are still apart, and we could still see out, no one was scared, it just was that part faced the backyard. We felt safe. I was sitting there and something drew my attention. So I looked over there to those sliding doors. I saw a tall figure in white with its arms raised to the glass window panes. I mean, the sliding doors, and doing a motion like it was scratching on the glass, but I didn't hear anything. And I opened my mouth. I was going to get ready to say something. I looked over, and my other cousin had seen it too. And she was looking at it, and we looked at each other. And then another cousin, what are you guys looking at? And all we could do is point. And then when we pointed, and when everyone turned and saw that, everyone screamed and ran upstairs. I was the last one to go, because then that thing floated up the steps, and you could just see the bottom of its gown or whatever just float across the top of the ground. And then I ran. And then so we're screaming, and some of the girls are crying. And then, you know what our aunt makes us do?
What?
That's what you get. That's what you get for messing around with stuff like that. Now you guys are going to go back there downstairs and sleep.
Oh my gosh.
She made us go back down there and sleep. That was the best. Luckily no one got hurt, but still.
Yeah.
We got lucky, because now you hear stories about horrible, terrifying outcomes.
Yeah.
So just don't do that.
Yeah. The Witch of West Seattle. Thank you so much for telling ghost stories, and also explaining like the meaning behind Halloween, and how it is, when you are a real witch, like what you believe Halloween to be. And it's very meaningful, and it's a fun holiday. It's kind of my favorite holiday, if you want to like talk about like Hallmark holidays and stuff. It's kind of my favorite, because it has that like mystery to it, and spookiness and stuff, and so it's more like imaginative, I feel like. So I look forward to the season of Halloween more than Christmas, but it's just kind of my own feeling about it. And I think you share the same.
Yes, definitely. It's always been my favorite holiday, even before I officially started following the path. So yes, I've always loved Halloween.
Yeah.
Very, very magical and dark and spooky and wonderful all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Crystal. It was a lot of fun. Everybody stay safe and have a wonderful and safe Halloween/Samhain. And may the ancestors be good to you.
Oh.
All right.
And to you too. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like what I'm creating here on my virtual campfire, please subscribe and give me 5-star reviews so that I know these conversations are worthwhile to others. I love doing this, and I hope you love listening. Thank you.